If you're over 250 pounds and you're struggling with body fat, the way you start your day could make all the difference. I didn't realize it at first, but my morning habits are what helped me lose my first 100 pounds. And this picture right here is actually already like 40 pounds down from that. So the transition might not look as dramatic, but I have lost 100 pounds myself. And these are some of the morning habits that I implemented. No crash diets, no endless cardio, just a few simple changes that set me up for success all day. I've worked with tons of people that feel just like you, and these are some of the habits that really helped them. So if you failed 100 times like me and you're finally ready to see the scale move without feeling miserable, I promise you're going to succeed with these habits. So habit number 1, I call the 3P morning. And no, this does not include urination. So this is a protein sparing intermittent fast. So it's like a variation on intermittent fasting, which I'm about to go into details on. But the 3Ps are protein for fullness, power or energy, and patience to keep the cravings away. And that is where these habits really kind of, you're going to see a theme on, is keeping your cravings at bay all day. The downside of intermittent fasting is that by the time you eat, you have missed out on hours worth of possible protein synthesis time. So whenever you get protein into your system, your body spares muscle or builds muscle based off your workouts and your lifestyle and everything. And so by getting protein in the morning, you're taking advantage of that. And that's very, very important to keep your muscle, keep your metabolism high, and keep burning calories throughout the day. It also helps you feel more full and all that stuff. But the downside of it is that, 600, 700 calories are gone at the first part of the day. So if you're not a big fan of eating in the morning, this could be a perfect habit for you. And even if you do like breakfast, this could be something that really sets you up, and it's worth a try. So eating protein first thing in the day allows your metabolism to get a bit of a boost. It doesn't literally increase your metabolism, but it increases the metabolism through digestion. And so the thermic effect of food, you're taking in protein, it has to break down that protein in order to process it for calories and nutrition. And so you are increasing the amount of calories you burn right off the bat. Protein is the most filling macronutrient of all of them. We all have experienced this, where if you eat a donut, it could be a 500 calorie donut and you're hungry just a couple hours later. But if you eat a 200 calorie protein bar, or, if you want to take the extreme example just for illustration, if you just ate 150 calories of chicken breast, you're not going to be hungry for several hours, and you're going to get that protein synthesis effect of the protein, like I mentioned. There's also the hormone support of regulating hormones like ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, and leptin, which increases your appetite. And so by consuming protein in the morning, you're going to be regulating these hormones and just setting yourself up all day. There's also the benefit of not having any sugar crashes, obviously, because you're eating an almost pure protein source. So what is an almost pure protein source? The obvious ones are like protein bars or something. You could do a protein shake, but you'd want to do something like Fairlife milk, that the sugars are relatively low. You could do regular milk as well, but almond milk is another good one with, a scoop of protein or something. But you also could do like an egg white omelet with some part skim mozzarella cheese. But keeping it as pure protein as possible will keep the calories down. You're looking for something around 200 calories, 250 calories, and that's going to give you that effect of having the protein while saving as many calories as possible for later. Habit number 2 is, I'm going to give you an example that you probably know all too well. You ever stare at your fridge, like you open it up, like kind of hoping a meal appears? I know that sounds silly, but I bet you've been there. I mean, I certainly have, where you're looking in the fridge and you're like, I don't know, I was just here, but is there something that I missed? Because nothing really sounds good. But now I prep meals that I actually want to eat. So this isn't the habit. I'm going to get there in just a second. Whenever you have prepped meals, there's no guesswork, there's no stress. You just grab it, you heat it, and you eat it. So here's the habit that you're going to do in the morning. You're going to pack up your meals from my cookbook or some delicious recipe that you find on Instagram or something. Instagram is like the hot spot I find for these really creative recipes. It's where I pull a lot of recipes from my recipe book, and then I kind of tweak them. I usually make them even higher protein and more like volume, and then I throw them in my recipe book. It's totally free. Link in the description or the pinned comment. But let's say you have protein macaroni and cheese. That's in the cookbook, and you are just in love with it. There's like 9 or 10 meal prep size recipes in my cookbook. I need to keep expanding on it, but they're pretty good. We'll do the cheesy Mexican rice. That is so fire. Let's say that you're excited by that meal. I want you to pack up your meals for the day, and it doesn't have to be like for dinner or whatever, but just like while you're gone from the house. And it could be even for dinner as well, because there's just something about seeing that meal and putting it in the bag. This is after your protein sparing modified intermittent fasting. So you're not tempted to eat that right then, but you're excited for it for the future. And that is the habit that I know sounds kind of cliche or silly, but I think it is a game changer whenever you have seen these delicious meals. That way, temptations that are at work or whatever, the cookies that Susie brought in, whatever it is, aren't as tempting because you know you have something exciting for to look in the future. When your meals are fire and your snacks are lit, it is just so hard not to gravitate towards those. And that's the real key here, is packing up these really good meals. I think one powerful thing about it is decision free. The decision has already been made for you. So you don't really have to make decisions. And if you are stressed at work or you're tired or whatever, the decision's already been made. It's in my lunchbox. It's in, whatever you keep your food in, and it's already there. If a craving hits, often, wait 10 minutes, see if it goes away, but then just eat your meals. And a lot of times that craving will just go away. So if you eat the cheesy Mexican rice, you're like, oh, it's pretty satisfying. It wasn't what I was necessarily wanting. I was craving, the cookies in the break room, but it certainly helps whenever, your hormones are regulated again, like I was talking about earlier. Ghrelin and leptin are manipulated after you eat. And so at least your hormones won't be working against you. It also makes the tracking really easy. There's like no real guesswork in it. So prepped meals, they're already portioned out. And in my cookbook, it'll say 365 grams is a serving. So you don't even have to measure out cups or anything. You just put 365 grams into a Tupperware and you're done. It'll make, 10, 9, 8 sometimes meals, sometimes more. And you just, you have those 10 cheesy Mexican protein rice meals. And it really helps in that regard. You're also going to be banking your willpower. And what I mean by that is you're not relying on willpower if your meals are delicious and ready to go and you can just pull it out. So it kind of saves, there's actually studies that have been done. And willpower is this thing that you can't really measure, but it does seem to be a finite resource. A lot of the studies that they've come to this conclusion on are with kids and how long it takes them to give in to something whenever temptation is sitting in front of them. And kids are told, you've all probably seen the videos where an adult says, don't eat these cookies. And if I come back and you haven't eaten these cookies, and you can have another cookie. And only, after a while, they end up failing. And so it seems like there is, and that's not just stuff like that. There's also been other diet studies that it seems like there's a finite resource of willpower. And if you don't run out of that willpower because you put yourself in a situation where you don't have to use your willpower in order to fight off a craving, you're winning. Okay, habit number 3 is the cold water hack. You know that feeling whenever you sip cold water on a hot summer day and you just instantly feel refreshed? Imagine that, but it's your metabolism every single morning. This water habit, which I'm about to talk more about, plus habit number 4, really goes a long way, in my opinion, and they work together really synergistically. I don't even know. I think that's a word. Sounds like a word, but they work together really well to help control your appetite, and I think this is a real winner for you. So this cold water thing is where your body has to heat up, temporarily increases your metabolism due to having to heat up the water. It's not much, but it is something, and I just think it's so nice to know that I'm starting my morning off right with this simple habit. It also makes you feel full and it just feels good. I think that you're like, it's kind of like, that thing about making your bed in the morning. I don't make my bed in the morning, full disclosure, but I get the thought process behind it is I have achieved something already. It sets me up for the rest of the day to believe in myself that I am able to do things. It also stimulates digestion and prevents bloating, because it starts the process of digestion, just basically wakes up your body. And of course, there's mental clarity, where you are more able to make better decisions because you are more mentally clear, and it wakes up your brain. It just starts your day. It's kind of like opening up the shades, letting sunlight into your eyes. It starts that for the inside of the body. Now, if you combine habit number 3, which is the cold water hack, and it does need to be cold, if you combine it with number 4, which is the appetite shutdown button, I think this is just going to be huge for you. And you might feel like, well, that almost could be one habit, and you're right. But I wanted to divide it up because I specifically think it's important to do both. So before we talk about how you can completely avoid temptation the remainder of the day with tip number 5, I want to talk about starting your day off with coffee. So there is studies that show that caffeine has a temporary reduction in appetite. It temporarily reduces your appetite. Now, if you combine this with number 3, and I know this is kind of like almost the same because one's coffee and one's hot coffee and one's cold water. But for some reason, I really enjoy that. I like the heat sensation of coffee with the cold of water. I don't drink them back and forth, but I drink my water right away, and then I have my coffee and kind of slow down. And this combination, plus you had that pure protein source from earlier, you are full, and it is amazing. And you are not hungry. I mean, sometimes I will just kind of forget to eat until like 1 or 2 p.m. Now, I don't think you should wait that long normally. I'm at the gym and working with clients and everything, but it is just so cool how full you are. So studies show, on that screenshot I was just referencing, that it can reduce calorie intake by 150 to 200 calories per day. And that really adds up. Imagine a 200 calorie reduction just by consuming caffeine. And then if you combine it with these other habits, I think you're going to have a reduction that is even bigger without doing anything really extra. And if you have never made recipes from my recipe book, you're also going to be increasing the volume of your food. This is just really going to cycle into a winning formula for you. I also wanted to mention real quick, if coffee isn't your thing, soda is not bad for you. There are study after study that show that you are not going to, get hurt. Now, I'm going to die on this hill. You're not going to get hurt by drinking diet soda. Now, here's a real kicker though. Adding stuff to the coffee is what is going to really kill your results. So stick to low calorie or sugar-free alternatives. So, stevia, again, the artificial sweeteners, getting closer and closer to drinking your coffee just black. You could also do things like vanilla extract and almond milk, vanilla almond milk with some stevia or whatever. Anything to keep the calories really low. That is the trick here, is you're using caffeine to reduce the appetite that you have for at least the morning, but a good chunk of the day, in my opinion. Water to increase your fullness, plus that pure protein source to control your hunger hormones and everything. All this really comes together, and you can't accidentally consume 500 calories of creamer and sugar in your coffee, or that just ruins everything. Okay, habit number 5. I teased this earlier. I think this is a game changer for controlling your temptations and controlling your cravings throughout the rest of the day. So if you struggle with that, then listen up. This is all about movement through momentum. So for me, I have been nerding out a lot on rope flow. I will show you a little bit right here, but rope flow, yoga, or just a calm walk, something calming and something meditative that doesn't take rope flow at first. Whenever you're learning it, does take kind of a lot of concentration, but once you get it, and I'm still working on getting it, I haven't been practicing it nearly enough. It is a lot easier, and your mind can wander, and that's the superpower here. And I'm going to tell you what I mean. All right. So the straight up benefit of this is not like the reason that I'm telling you about it is going to be a little bit different than this, but this is a benefit, and that's your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I'm sure you've heard of that by now, but if you haven't, all that is like steps, fidgeting, twitching, things like that. It's calories that you burn outside of exercise. And so by you going on a walk or something, I wouldn't necessarily call it exercise. I guess you are kind of exercising if you're just taking a simple stroll, but it's increasing your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, increasing the amount of calories that you burn outside of the gym. And that is a huge part of the pie chart when it comes to how many calories you burn. So increasing that is a really good thing. Here's the game changer though, and this is going to sound lame, but stick with me. I promise this is awesome. It's all about visualization for the rest of your day. And I'm not talking about visualizing losing weight or something. I'm talking about foresee all the temptations that normally derail you, or all the, struggling for the word, but all the things that normally send you off of your desired path for staying on your diet or, exercise or whatever. Think about those things. Okay, so let's say you're taking your walk and you are like, man, every time I come home from work, I'm just exhausted. And I come home, I get my bag, and I'm too tempted to sit down. Then bring your bag with you. And I know that's silly, but by preparing yourself in the morning, you are now prepared for those things whenever you see them. Or earlier, how I mentioned Susie bringing in the cookies, leaving them on the break room counter. If you've already prepared for that, you can tell yourself, hey, whenever I walk past that break room, I'm just going to go straight past it, or I'm going to take the long way around. You've already thought through these circumstances, so that's much easier for you to avoid those and stay on the correct path. I also think it's nice, kind of like the water thing, where you're achieving something. You're already setting your day up. You've already taken a little walk, or you've already done a little bit of yoga. You already have lived out those habits, and now it's easier to follow those habits the rest of the day. Try listening to something outside of the visualization if you need to. If you're like really bored with it or something, do an audiobook, listen to the Bible, whatever it is. A podcast, a motivational podcast, listen to some of my videos, anything to get your mind in that groove for that day, one day at a time. Almost like, I don't want this to sound too much like an AA meeting or something, but really taking it one day at a time, saying these are the difficulties I'm going to face today. I'm going to get past this day. And that really starts to build. And you don't have to do that every day. That momentum is really going to shift in your favor, and you won't have to work that hard to, focus on that one day at a time. This is also a really cool hack, which is habit anchoring. So anchoring it to something that's extremely enjoyable. So if you struggle to go for walks or whatever, having your coffee on that walk, in a travel mug or something. If you really enjoy coffee, your body will start to associate the positive dopamine release of the coffee with the habit that you are now doing. This could really go with anything. If you wanted to study more for school, or for a certification for work or whatever, you could have your coffee every morning while doing that, and you would start to associate with that positive dopamine release of the coffee. And then you would start to get, studies show, dopamine releases from that habit alone, even if you remove the coffee. Now, it's, I don't know if that lasts forever. I'm not going to act like a neuroscientist or something, but I think it's pretty cool that you can couple those together, and you can really have a positive benefit on your habits.